So I just watched a video put up by Owen Jones all about the approval ratings of the monarch and how the approval ratings of the monarchy have never been lower now under King Charles III than they were under Elizabeth II. Since it was really quite hard to imagine the monarchy ever being questioned under Queen Elizabeth II. She was really rather a popular monarch, or she managed the institution of the monarchy in a way such that no one really ever sort of questioned that that would be part of our society. And now King Charles is on the throne, and straight away on the first day, well, not even on the first day of his reign proper, we have protesters outside the coronation, even, seeking seeking to question whether or not we need this institution, whether or not we need this unelected head of state that we have, and advocating Republican reforms to our system, to our constitution. And I'm wholeheartedly in support of that. As a young person, I look to the monarchy and I see something gaudy and trashy and reeking of the ingrained privilege of former times and ingrained unfairness, hence, and all this sort of thing. And I don't like it one bit. I want to, get rid of it all. I want an elected House of Lords. I want an elected head of state. I want the rest of it. And I want a written, codified constitution, most importantly, I think, for the United Kingdom itself. Because I've been through the system of criminal justice in the United Kingdom, and I've had a lot of trouble from the police in the United Kingdom about reporting on the machinations of certain people in my own life who've been connected to government, and I was whistleblowing about conspiracies in government for many years and received a hell of a lot of attention, shall we say, from law enforcement as a result of that. And I see law in the United Kingdom and I see it being applied arbitrarily, and unfairly, and it being applied as a whim, and it being applied to suit the purposes of people with a higher stake in authority within the system, or people who are better connected to the system in one way or another, see that their justice getting precedence over my own and other people's as well, and seeing people being treated in a deeply unfair manner by the system, such that we live in a society where it's very risky to be poor. It's very risky to be poor from a criminal justice standpoint because you will get targeted by the police. They don't go after white collar crime in the United Kingdom, and that's another symptom of ingrained inequality, ingrained privilege and unfairness, is it not? The privileged, the elite, those can go around doing absolutely whatever they like, it seems, without punishment and without fear of punishment. But the rest of us, if we happen to be poor or not well connected, or what have you, then we face incredible risks in this society. We don't enjoy the protections under our system of law that it advertises in statute. We receive a selection of rights, and we receive a limited level of justice in comparison to others. So we don't have any equality before the law here, I wouldn't have said, not in any meaningful sense. And we have a deeply corrupt system also. And you'd have to be naive, I think, of the way that this nation works, of the way that modern Britain works, if you don't appreciate that there certainly is some corruption within the system, and that's within most of the system. I would have said that the levels of corruption within the system are at variance with what those levels of corruption are perceived to be within the system, first of all. And I'd have said that the levels of corruption are quite high in real terms within the system. And it's just it's almost like the realpolitik of daily life in this country. And we go around expecting it to be unfair, and we go around expecting it to try and fuck us over in one way or another, for want of a better term. So I think the young, in particular, the young who are attuned to the realities of the unfairness of modern British life. We're deeply sickened by the monarchy. I think that's the attitude that a lot of us seem to have. I think we see the monarch doing things like canoodling around with Jimmy Savile back in the 80s and 90s and whatever. Then we see the stuff with his brother and Jeffrey Epstein, and that, did receive some response from the royal family themselves, but was it really enough? And we've still got this king on the throne who had an intimate and protracted relationship, it seems, with a high-profile child molester. So, like, that's not very good. That's I don't know what the route out of that is for Charles III in terms of his public image. I don't know like what he'd need to do exactly to mend that element of his public image. That take a lot of explaining. That's what it would do. Does he plead ignorance about it all? I mean, what is his line on it? And actually, do we as the British people have a right to a very involved, should we say, understanding of what exactly was going on there? And well, we probably do have all sorts of rights when it comes to that sort of thing. We can put in like freedom of information requests, I suppose, to the various public bodies that are concerned by it, and find all the correspondence, say, between Charles and Savile, and find out its portents and this sort of thing, and investigate it all properly. But then again, that's what U-Tree was ostensibly about, and that wasn't just about Savile. It was about various other high-profile child molesters who either turned out to be child molesters or didn't. But in any case, yeah, it's a murky, and it shouldn't be a murky area of our history. Those people should be exposed to every level of scrutiny that anyone else in this country is exposed to. They should be exposed to exactly the same level of scrutiny as anyone, as they should be, frankly, our most scrutinized people, and everything that they do should be, matter to public, well, privy to watchdogs and public inquiry and the police and intelligence services and all these sorts of institutions, and it's very unclear the extent to which they really do wield power, and it's very unclear the extent to which they can influence policy, even though they're not supposed to be political, or they're not supposed to be party political in any sense. I don't see it, and if my understanding of politics means nothing, they're the heads of state. They're the heads of the church in this country as well. How can they not be political? How can they be totally apolitical? It's not possible. They are, whether they like it or not, they are part of a political organization, a political entity, a state, a nation state, and they're the heads of it. That's what it is. If they're not answerable to the people of this country, and really if they're unelected, I think, then it's not true democracy. We don't have a bloody constitutional monarchy anyway, because we don't really have a constitution. When they say our unwritten, uncodified constitution, what people mean is just our body of statute. That's the constitution. So if you have to walk into one of these like massive public law libraries that you get, and like what reads our entire body of statute, I expect you could, like if you were a speed reader and you had a lot of time on your hands, a few years or something, maybe you could read our body of statute. I don't know why anyone would. There's like professors of law out there who haven't. For goodness sake. Maybe like there's like some wizened old high court judge who's actually read our entire body of statute, but I doubt it. We need a constitution for this country, written, codified, that everyone can agree upon, that we agree upon as the core foundational beliefs of our nation. I think it should be voted on publicly. I think it should be open to referendum on the internet and polling and this sort of thing. We can design our own constitution, maybe on the internet even. In the 21st century, something we invented or Tim Berners-Lee invented, a British person at CERN, and yeah, and we should take pride not in these people. These people don't typify or epitomize Britishness. I think you'll find. I think you'll find our country is just a little bit. It's more than that merely. It's more than merely a monarchy. I know we've got like United Kingdom. Is that a name? We've got the flags and all this stuff. We've got a host of not particularly good flags. That's what we have. Got the cross. It's all a bit like, yeah, I think. Why can't we have a really cool flag? Why can't I have like a unicorn on it or something? Seriously, like, it's a boring flag. I want this place to majorly change. I think we can, the Beatles, that's Britishness. That is real Britishness. Our music, our culture, our art, our literature. Yeah, those things make me proud to be British. Our science, obviously, technology, engineering and maths, etc. The great things that we do. We built the jet engine here first. We invented the computer. That's a way to stop an argument, isn't it? If like a sort of xenophobic argument is broken out, and my country did this, my country did that, my country invented the computer. That's a way of stopping an argument, isn't it? But yeah, we've done incredible things in this country, really great things. But we've done all that in spite of the monarch, not because of them. The monarchy has had no connection to any of that stuff at all. And, they may have been involved in the power jostling between Britain and Germany back prior to World War One, and involved in the attempt to control the opium supply to throttle the German economy, to which the Germans responded by invading Belgium ultimately 2 years after the International Opium Convention was released and all that stuff, leading to the sordid horrors of World War One, the abject misery there, and then they made cannabis illegal in the United Kingdom after that. Take the trademarks to morphine, heroin, and cocaine from German pharmaceutical companies at Versailles. Well, the monarch had nothing to do with this at all. They gave royal assent to those laws. Those laws, by the way, undermined Christian principles, undermined the rights and freedoms handed down to us by the Almighty in Genesis. So in doing so, the monarchs broke their covenant with the Christian church. In my opinion, anyway. I don't know what the Church of England heads or the bishops of the Church of England think about that proposition exactly. I think you'll find it a bit hard to argue your way out of it, considering that they made a green plant illegal in the United Kingdom before, by the way, it was illegal in the United States. We were at the forefront of making all this illegal. A lot of people don't realise this, because back in the 1920s, and the immediate post-war era, we were still an empire. We still had huge territorial holdings all around the world. There was no independent India back then, or Pakistan. We owned all that. That was all British. But the empire was going into decline because we'd overextended ourselves. Our opium trade in the east with China after the Second Opium War, then they domesticated supply there, and the bottom fell out of that trade. That led to the financial crisis of 1886, I think, and that had a transatlantic impact. The Americans didn't, they had a stock market crash, and due to I imagine by then sort of transatlantic tendency to hide British money in the United States and vice versa, which forms the basis of the special relationship now. And yeah, yeah, the monarch would have given assent to all things like that, which really is venal, is trashy, is desperate, it's short-sighted, small-minded. It relies upon an unsophisticated and superficial understanding of economics, and it's the economics that knows supply and demand and that's all that they know about it. Or they know supply and demand superficially, and it's the Dunning-Kruger effect in economic thinking control the supply of the opium, make the opium more expensive. So that's what they're thinking before the war. Think about these idiots. They're thinking like this, but their only customer is Germany. So they're trying to make it more expensive for the Germans to buy it, to then turn it into morphine and heroin, to then sell it back to us. And we still want to buy it cheap. What they don't pass the savings on to us, do they? They just make it more expensive for us, and then guess what? 2 years later, after they do that, all hell breaks loose, and we have a world war in Europe, and that's for controlling a commodities market. That's controlling an agrarian market. Like, you're really playing with fire whenever you try to do that. But this leads me very succinctly on to the point that I'm going to close with, because we have a king now who's very interested in agriculture. I don't know what his interest in agriculture is exactly, if he wants to put lots of farms out of business and buy them up. Is that it? He's also the biggest farmer in the country, King Charles III. He's got the most farmland. Does he have a hankering for more of it, potentially? I wonder if he supported Brexit at all. I'll just leave that out there for whoever to mull over. But yeah, I didn't realise this video was going to be so long. Sorry. But yeah, I'm very concerned and interested to see what's going to happen over the next 18 months or so in Britain. I think the reason for my concern is because, well, it's because of the Agriculture Act, and it's because of leaving the European Union and leaving the Common Agricultural Policy System of Payments, the BPS scheme, the Basic Payment Scheme. I'm very concerned about what's going to happen there, and with farming subsidies, and how many farms in the UK are going to go out of business because of all this. Or are we going to produce less food and import more? How are we going to import more cheaply since we're now out of the customs union? We're in a very, very hairy and precarious political situation, and I'm wondering, just like the opium, or was that the International Opium Convention, these controls on opium, I'm wondering if this sort of Brexit policy is something totally misguided from the beginning, something that would never have worked, not in the short term nor the long term, for the things it was intended to work for. And I'm wondering also if it could lead to utter catastrophe as well. I don't know, like, what was the appetite of people when Brexit was going on? It was all full of nationalist furore, not real patriotism, but yeah, a kind of rah-rah nationalism. And that seems somehow connected to, like, the sort of monarchist that we have in Britain, isn't it? Is it all, like, part of that flood of UKIP and far-right Tory-ish thinking that, would connect our national identity to the monarch solely, and not to the other things that we do. But yeah, I'm ashamed we still have it. It's only been a few days since we had a new king, but still want to get rid of it, obviously. Yeah, he has no legitimacy, no right to rule. The rule of his family has undermined Christian principles of the United Kingdom, undermines, articles of Christian faith, rights given to us by the Lord God Almighty, who yeah, as a Christian, I worship a pantheist Anglican Christian. And yeah, it goes against the principles of humanity and nature to do such a thing, I think, to people. Say that we can't consume a plant, or can't consume fungus, or can't, yeah, medicate ourselves. It's a nanny state kind of mentality. And it's very connected, I think, to a certain style of ruling that I think is taken as an assumption in this country, whereby it is monarchical. You know, we're the government, we're going to tell you what to do, and we know best, and all this sort of nonsense that they try and peddle on you. And you know, the government, it is authoritative. It talks down to you. It tells you what to do, and that is how things work here in Britain. It is asinine stupidity. It's ridiculous to think that, you know, what a lack of respect you have for people here. You know, talk to us like we're children, treat us like we're children. Foolhardiness, folly, venal, secretly trying to do things like raise the price of opium so you can sell it at a vastly higher price. Fantasize by huge amounts of money. And, you know, sparking off misery-inducing events like world wars, you know, all around the world. With huge suffering. Drugs cause enormous suffering around the world. If they were legal, they wouldn't cause any problems. That's the thing. It's the very simple truth of it. If people, you know, had access in Russia to high quality heroin, we wouldn't have this problem of crocodile whereby their skin falls off. They'd just be taking high quality smack and probably not having those problems. It's because it's low quality, you know, manufactured with over the counter chemicals. That's why it's so bad for people. And all that's caused by a draconian policy towards heroin use, which I bet my bollocks to a barn dance was started with, you know, the British Empire, the great trading network empire all around the world, the largest the world had ever seen. The sun never set on it, and all that stuff. We are not in that world anymore. We are in a very different world now. You know, post World War II, post 1945, it's all different. You know, the rest of the world after that point turned and looked at us and like, you're the problem. You're getting rid of the empire. And rightly so. And rightly so. Because it was causing catastrophic problems, clearly. You know, no one doesn't blame the British Empire for World War I and World War II. Or no thinking person doesn't, I should say. You know, no one really says it was all Germany's fault. Unless, like I said, they're not a thinking person. Like, if there's some mad BNP person, they might do that. I don't know. But, yeah, I've talked enough about this. I think I've made my point. Thank you for watching.